unexpected thin privileges. I'm not subject to eugenics and could receive fertility treatments if I wanted to, and my kids wouldn't be taken away from me for being the same body size as me.
I usually don't stop videos partway through, but did this woman just say we're not subjects to eugenics and then casually move on like she didn't just say that?
Crash test dummies were made for bodies around my size, and seatbelts work for me. My BMI doesn't exclude me from being able to donate my body to science, and med students have studied cadavers of my size. People of my size are included in clinical trials, and medicines are made for people around my weight. When I die, my weight isn't going to be the first thing that's blamed or marked as my cause of death, even if it had nothing to do with why I died. Fat phobia is real, and it's a social justice issue. It's going to take all of us with thin privilege to get on board to make a difference in this. If you have friends and family, if you have a social media account, then you have a platform, and your voice is important. Use it to speak up against anti-fatness.
I'm sorry, I'm still not over the fact that she said eugenics and never explained. But let's go through each of these points. 1. Crash test dummies were made in my size and seatbelts fit. I actually looked this up, and since the mid-2010s, crash test dummies have actually been getting heavier. For many years, the size of the standard crash test dummy was 5'9" and 170 pounds, which is supposed to be the standard size for men. But the manufacturers of crash test dummies have been diversifying based on height and weight and age in the past 7 to 8 years. So the crash test dummy thing wasn't even thin privilege, because if the standard size was for a grown man at 5'9", 170 pounds, it would have also been a problem for short people, which are mostly women, and smaller people that weigh less. So not thin privilege. And if you're large enough that seatbelts don't fit you, that's not a lack of privilege, it's consequence, like not fitting into a plane seat. 2. BMI means I can donate my body to science, and med students have studied people my size. Most underweight people with BMI below 19, also can't donate their bodies to science. And those are the thinnest people that exist, so this point isn't thin privilege. 3. People my size are included in medical trials, and medicines were made for people my size. Obesity is a risk factor for a lot of medical problems, and when scientists create new drugs, it makes the most sense to use the healthiest subjects to test their drugs, because that means there are fewer variables to account for when testing the outcomes of the drugs. And if obesity is actually named as a reason why someone can't participate in a drug trial, there are guaranteed to be other risk factors that include someone from being part of the trial, like having high blood pressure, being a smoker, even having anxiety or depression can exclude you from being part of drug trials. And on top of all of that, it's just harder to make medication for people that are very large. So obese people aren't being excluded because science simply doesn't want medication for fat people. It's just logistically harder to create medicines for fat people. 4. My death won't be blamed on my weight. But what if it is? What if you do die because of weight-related problems? She's implying that the idea that someone could die because of their weight is in itself fat-phobic. But obesity-related illnesses are the most common causes of death in the United States. So this one is certainly not a result of thin privilege, but of science and statistics and basic human biology. The purpose of this video was to say that there are a bunch of societal factors that lead someone to being fat, and those factors are more influential than diet and exercise. I disagree for many reasons, but anyone who's watched my videos before knows why. What I want to point out is that she lists all of these reasons as to why people are fat, like mental health, medication, and socioeconomic class. But in the last video, she said that trying to reduce obesity is tantamount to eugenics. How can you say that obesity is mostly caused by societal factors like poverty and weight cycling, but also say reducing obesity is tantamount to eugenics? So if society collectively reduced poverty and stress levels and weight stigma to the point where obesity rates go down, that's eugenics. What a wild contradiction, and it goes to show how easily fat acceptance talking points are just parroted out without much thought given to what they're actually saying.
Something I like to consider now, whenever I am starting to kind of revert back into that pattern of wanting to be small, is to remember things in nature that take up space completely unapologetically. Things in nature that we would never question their expansiveness, their size, all the space that they take up, like mountains and redwood trees, the ocean, the sky. We would absolutely never question the space that they take up, because they're doing what they're meant to do. They're taking up as much space as they're meant to take up in this life, and they're fulfilling a role, a purpose that is divine and perfect. And so are you. You were never meant to be small.
I know this whole video is supposed to be deep and introspective and spiritual or whatever, but my soul got lost the last time I heard someone saying that not wanting to be fat is the same as homophobia. So I'll just say this. You aren't a mountain or an ocean or a tree or any other inanimate object or species. You are a human. And I can't tell you what you are meant to be other than human, but I can tell you that your healthy size is not being morbidly obese. In one of the podcast videos I made with Virgie Tovar, she compares her inner thighs, which are riddled with scars due to chug rub, to cactuses, which goes to show that you can justify any size, deformity, or even behavior using nature if you wanted to. So if you want to be fat, be fat. But saying it's okay that I'm fat because look at that mountain over there lacks more than a bit of reason.
Guys, being fat has finally come to my advantage for once. For once, I am no longer just the funny friend. I am no longer just the fat friend. I am no longer the butt of all the friends' jokes. I am now going to be vaccinated for COVID-19 because I am morbidly obese and have asthma. Suck it. Suck it, skinnies.
If you've seen my other videos, you're aware that this woman has been around before. And pretty much every time, I say that she needs to get therapy for the fact that she clearly has some deep-rooted traumatic issues when it comes to skinny people. She said before that she doesn't feel comfortable around skinny people and that all skinny people are an oppressive class. And this video just lends more to everything else I've said about her, because it's one thing to be excited about getting the vaccine early. Sure, that's great. But to say, I am no longer the fat friend, I am no longer the butt of all my friends' jokes. Therapy. You're basically screaming to the world that you need therapy. And in the end, to say, suck it, skinnies, please get help.
I don't know who needs to hear this. Apparently a lot of you do. But posting yourself before and after you eat as a thin, conventionally attractive person is not doing what you think it's doing. A lot of times people do this with the intent to normalize bodies or whatever, but like, your thin body is already normal. And no one's mad that you're thin. No one's mad that you're like trying to be helpful. People are upset that you're essentially body checking on the internet. Trying to have a positive platform to help other people with their insecurities or help them love themselves is great. But if you're doing something harmful, you need to own up to it, understand and learn from it, and delete it. You live and you learn, that's completely fine, but just know doing that is not helping anyone at all.
Please, please, someone teach this woman what body checking is, because she doesn't understand the word. At this point, I'm pretty sure believes that just being thin means you're body checking. She said, your thin body is already normal. You say that in a way that implies that everyone should automatically know that. But these are the same people that I'm sure would applaud a female celebrity for posting an image without makeup and without filters. But why is that seen as a good thing? Because we collectively understand that the retouching of women's bodies is everywhere. Because even if we see people every day, the images we see in media and social media can influence what we consider normal. And isn't this the entire idea of fat representation? Like, we all know that most of the US population is overweight and obese, objectively. But the point of fat representation is for more of those people to be shown in media. So how can you understand how representation is important for fat people, specifically women, and how fat women view themselves, but not understand that what a thinner woman considers a normal woman's body can also be influenced by media representation? So some thin women may not see their thin bodies as already normal. That's why the normalization of women's bodies can be useful for some people. And posting unretouched images or videos as a skinny person is not body checking, Abby. So nobody needs to apologize to you or anyone else for triggering your insecurities.
Body positivity has turned into a movement solely based on making people feel better about themselves and helping their self-esteem and being reassured that they are attractive. But I don't think it should be going in that direction. We're not talking about things like medical fat phobia. We're not talking about things like that. We're saying your rolls are beautiful. Okay. What if we did body neutrality, guys? What if we took the value away from our bodies? We recognize that they exist, and we recognize that some bodies are treated better than other bodies, and we fight the treatment that they get, the unequal treatment. But we take the value away from our physical forms by being neutral about it, so that our personal feelings cannot get in the way of the liberation of all marginalized bodies. Because right now, I really feel like they are. Loving yourself is really important, but it should be focused on your inner self, not your outer self.
She said people aren't talking about things like medical fat phobia enough. Yeah, maybe because you and your cohort are going around complaining about people with body dysmorphia and distorting the definition of body checking so you can police skinny women instead of talking about medical fat phobia. I actually searched through this woman's page and I think I saw one video about medical fat phobia, but there are countless videos talking about how fat shaming and skinny shaming aren't the same and why she's oppressed for being fat and why women with certain features shouldn't be in body positivity. All that stuff. Why don't you take your own advice and focus on your internal self and the causes you think matter, instead of spending your time telling other people what content they're allowed to make and how those videos that have nothing to do with you are causing you harm? She also said that we should move towards body neutrality instead of body positivity so we aren't as focused on looks, but she doesn't have a right to dictate if someone is or is not allowed to be positive about their bodies. If she wants body neutrality for herself, she can do that. But she has no grounds for telling other people that they are wrong for focusing on their physical appearance and wanting to feel pretty or beautiful or wanting to practice body positivity. There's even a comment on this video that says, "Fat liberation all the way." Yes, fat liberation. If you want to have a movement that focuses on the issues specifically related to fat people, you've got fat liberation, you've got fat acceptance. Stop trying to tell people what body positivity is or should be to them.